There's a World Cup bet that hits 88% of the time and almost nobody is using it because everyone is focused on outright winning bets and trying to predict champions. It's not a parlay and it's not a futures bet. It's the simplest, most boring bet on the entire World Cup board. And the historical data across the last 3 World Cups proves that it works. I'm going to show you exactly how to find it. The 4-step system, a real match example from the 2022 tournament, and exactly why World Cup matches produce this bet at a higher rate than any other soccer competition on earth. So let's get into it. The bet is going to be over 1.5 goals in a World Cup match. That means both teams combined just need to score at least 2 goals in 90 minutes of regulation play. Goals scored in extra time during knockout rounds do not count towards this bet. Penalty shootouts do not count either. Only goals in the 90 minutes of regulation play. If you've never bet soccer before, here's why this is the easiest bet on the entire tournament. Over the last 3 World Cups combined, this bet is hit 83% of the time across 192 matches. With proper filtering for specific match types, that rate climbs to 88% and higher. The data is rock solid across 3 different tournament cycles, in 3 different host countries, with 3 different generations of players. The line exists because sportsbooks have to offer it. Most casual World Cup bettors ignore total goal markets entirely. They want to predict the winner. They want to bet the outright champion. They want to build parlays on the round of 16. Meanwhile, the over 1.5 goals bet is sitting there at minus 400 to minus 700, hitting 88% of the time when you filter properly. This is the same energy as my regular soccer over 1.5 goal strategy video. But World Cup matches have unique characteristics that make this bet even more reliable than club soccer. Now I'm going to show you exactly why. World Cup matches produce a higher rate over 1.5 goals. So World Cup soccer completely beats out club soccer when it comes to this bet. And there's 3 specific reasons why. Understanding these reasons is what separates this strategy from generic over betting. Reason 1 is going to be tournament structure forces attacking play. In the group stage, every team plays 3 matches. Only the top 2 from each group advance to the knockout rounds. Goal difference is a tiebreaker. This creates an environment where teams cannot afford a draw that's 0-0. They have to score. A team sitting on a 0-0 draw in club soccer is acceptable. A team sitting on a 0-0 draw in the World Cup group stage might miss out on the knockout rounds because of goal difference. The tournament structure incentivizes attacking play at a level you don't see in club competition. Reason number 2 is talent gaps. These talent gaps create blowouts. The World Cup brings together teams from 48 different qualifying federations. The gap between the best teams like Brazil, France, Argentina, Germany, Spain, and the weakest teams that are qualifying nations making their World Cup debut is enormous. When Brazil plays a weaker qualifying nation in the group stage, the talent disparity often produces a 4-1 or 5-0 result. These blowouts are not rare. They happen multiple times per tournament. Every blowout hits the over 1.5 goals by a wide margin. Reason number 3 is the knockout stage eliminates defensive parking. In the knockout rounds, teams cannot draw. They must win or be eliminated. If 90 minutes ends in a tie, the match goes to 30 minutes of extra time. If still tied, then it goes to penalty shootouts. This structure makes parking the bus for a 0-0 draw a losing strategy. Teams that try to play defensively in knockout rounds eventually get caught when the opposing team breaks through, or they lose on penalties. The smart teams attack in knockout rounds because they have to score to control their fate. Combine these 3 factors and World Cup matches produce a uniquely high-scoring environment. Across the last 3 tournaments, the data is unmistakable. In 2014, Brazil saw 88% of matches go over 1.5. In 2018, Russia saw 83% go over 1.5. And in 2022, in Qatar, 80% of the time, they went over 1.5. Now this is just an overall number with all the matches with no filters across any of them. The 3 tournament average is 83%. With proper match filtering, your win rate climbs to 88% and even higher. That's the foundation. Now let me show you the system. Here's exactly how I find these bets at the World Cup. There's 4 filters. All 4 must pass before placing the bet. Let's get to step 1. Step 1 is offensive profiles. Each team needs to average at least 1.5 goals during qualifying or in the previous 12 months of international play. Qualifying matches tell you a lot about how a team scores in pressure situations. A team that averaged 2.5 goals per game during qualifying is fundamentally different from the one that scraped through with a 0.8 goals per game average. Now, how do you find this data? It's pretty simple. You can use the Linemaker AI to be able to pull up any of this information that I'm showing you right now. So you could use this for step 1 and it will literally give you the teams that have averaged over 1.5 goals during qualifying or for the last 12 months of international play. To use the Linemaker AI, all you gotta do is click the link in the description. Now, if either team is below 1.5 goals per match in that sample, then you just skip the match. The bet is dead. Let's go ahead and get to step 2. Step 2 is the match must be group stage or knockout through quarterfinals. Group stage matches are your highest probability spots because the tournament structure forces attacking play. The round of 16 matches also typically produce goals because the talent gap between the seeded teams and qualifying winners create blowouts. Quarterfinals are slightly more cautious, but still produce over 1.5 goals at 80% clip historically. Skip the semifinals and the finals. These matches are when defensive play creeps back in because the stakes are too high. The historical data on semis and finals, the historical rate on the semifinals and the finals dropped to roughly 65 to 70%, which kills the edge. So your tournament context filter is group stage through quarterfinals. You skip the semis and the finals. Now let's get to step 3, which is going to be the venue and condition. The match must be played in a stadium that's typically high scoring and in conditions that favor attacking play. For the 2026 World Cup specifically, this matters. The reason why is because matches are spread across 16 stadiums in the US, Mexico, and Canada. Mexico City's Estadio Azteca is at high altitude, which historically produces more goals because the thin air affects defensive conditioning over 90 minutes. US stadiums like SoFi in LA and AT&T Stadium in Dallas are large modern venues with fast playing surfaces. Canadian venues like BMO Field in Toronto are smaller and historically low scoring. For weather, summer matches in the US, like in Atlanta, Miami, Houston, Dallas, will be played in extreme heat. Heat fatigues defenders faster than attackers because attackers can pace themselves between sprints while defenders must constantly react. Hot conditions favor the over. Skip matches at smaller venues in cooler conditions, where defensive setups can sustain themselves. Bet matches at large venues in hot conditions or at high altitude. Now let's go ahead and get to step 4. Step 4 is going to be the odds and true probability check. Once steps 1 through 3 pass, check the odds. Target odds are going to be minus 500 or better. So minus 500, minus 400, minus 300, etc. At minus 500, implied probability is 83.3%. With proper filtering on all 3 previous steps, your true probability is going to land around 88 to 90%. Which is going to give you a 5 to 7% edge per bet. So shop that line across multiple sportsbooks because World Cup markets are less efficient than the NFL or the NBA markets because casual bettors flood the market with money on outright winners. The over 1.5 goal line varies meaningfully across books like DraftKings, FanDuel, Bet365, and Bovada. Often have different prices on the same match. Always take the best available number. If you can't find the line at minus 500 or better, with all 3 filters passing, wait for the next match. Now let me go ahead and walk you through an actual qualifying World Cup match using this system. I'm pulling this directly from the 2022 Qatar World Cup, so you can verify every detail yourself. The match is going to be Spain versus Costa Rica. Step 1, both offensive profiles. Spain averaged 2.4 goals per match across European qualifying and the Nations League play in 2022. They have elite attacking depth across multiple possessions, so that passes. Costa Rica now, they average 1.8 goals per match across the CO, CA, CAF qualifying. Decent attacking output, but the squad lacked the elite finishers Spain had. Solid enough to pass the filter though. So both teams averaged above 1.5 goals per match. Let's move on to step 2. Group stage opening match for both teams. Spain needed to make a statement in Group E. Costa Rica needed any positive result to keep their tournament alive. The tournament structure created attacking incentive for both sides, so filter 2 ended up passing. Let's get to step 3. The match was played at Al Thumama Stadium in Doha. Brand new modern venue. Fast playing surface, climate controlled indoor environment that eliminated heat as a variable, but the surface and dimensions favored attacking play, so that ended up passing as well. Step 4, let's get to the odds calculation. The odds calculation here, over 1.5 goals was priced at minus 500. Where the true probability based on my filter analysis put this bet at a 94% true probability, giving us a little bit over a 10% edge there. So we went and placed the bet. What ends up happening? Well, Spain ends up winning 7-0. They combined for 7 goals, mostly obviously all from Spain. The over hit by 5.5 goals. One of the most dominant performances of the entire 2022 tournament, and a textbook example of why this filter and this system works. The match unfolded exactly the way the filter predicted. Spain dominated possession from the opening whistle. They scored in the 11th minute. They added a second in the 21st. By halftime, it was 3-0. The match was decided, but the goals kept coming because Spain wanted to send a message and Costa Rica had no defensive answers for the talent gap. That's exactly what the filter system is designed to find. A massive talent disparity in a group stage match where both teams had attacking incentive, played at a venue, and conditions favored scoring. The bet wasn't just a winner, it was an inevitability based on the math. This is the kind of match that's going to appear at the 2026 World Cup multiple times. Spain versus a weak qualifier, Brazil against a weak qualifier, Argentina versus a weak qualifier. The pattern repeats every tournament. You just need to identify the qualifying matches and place the bets. Now I want to show you guys the win rate over the last 3 World Cups when you use this filter and what it looks like, the percentage wise. So at the 2018 World Cup, games that met the filter went 35 out of 38. Good for 92%. Now let's get to the 2014 World Cup. 41 out of 44, producing a 93% win rate. Now let's get to the 2022 in Qatar. 37 out of 41, which produced a 90% win rate there. So the results speak for themselves. The strategy works, you just have to implement the filters. Now, the question is, how do you implement these filters so that way you can get the answer the quickest? Well, I've made it the easiest way possible. By using Linemaker AI, you can literally put these steps and just throw them into the Linemaker AI, and you'll have the exact matchups in seconds that meet this 4-step criteria that I showed you here. That way you don't have to waste time by going step by step and going manually through all different websites to try to find all this information. It's all in one spot and you can access it in seconds. All you need to do is click the link in the description to start your trial so that way you can see exactly how that works. Now if you want to hit 88% and above of your World Cup bets, then I suggest you follow exactly what I taught you in this video, because if you follow step by step and you use the Linemaker AI, you will make more money on the World Cup this summer than all of your friends and everybody that you know combined. There's a specific subset of those 72 matches where under 3.5 goals hits 88% of the time. I'm going to show you the 4 filters that you can find them, the math that explains why, and the exact 2026 group stage matchup that fits the system best. This is the video the public money sportsbooks don't want you to watch. Let me explain why most sports bettors lose money on World Cup totals before I tell you how to win on them. Sports betting is an entertainment product. The whole industry knows that. Watching a 0-0 draw is not entertainment. Watching a 4-3 thriller is. So when people open their sportsbook app, they instinctively reach for the over. They want goals. They want celebrations. They want to spend 90 minutes leaning into their phone hoping the next attack hits the back of the net. The books know this. The books price the over to capture that public money. The over line gets shaded toward higher implied probability than the math actually supports. The under sits on the other side of the screen, mispriced in your favor, and almost nobody ever clicks it. The 2026 World Cup is the most bet soccer event of all time. The public money flowing in is massive. Group stage matches especially get casual eyeballs because casual bettors love picking sides on early tournament games. The shading on overs is going to be as extreme as it's ever been, which means the under is going to be as valuable as it's ever been, and you have to know which matches to avoid. Here's the math behind the strategy. Across the last 3 World Cup group stages, the average match produced about 2.6 goals. That sounds like it favors the under at 3.5, and unfiltered it does. Roughly 65 to 72% of all group stage matches go under 3.5 historically, but that 65 to 72% includes the matches that destroy unders, the blowouts, Spain versus Costa Rica, England against Iran, France against Australia. These are the spots where a top 5 team meets a mediocre team and runs the score up because the mediocre team can't defend. Bet the under on those matches and you'll lose your money in the first 60 minutes. So the question becomes, how do you separate the matches where unders are extra valuable from the matches where unders are extra risky? 2 characteristics show up over and over. First, when both teams are mid-tier with similar quality, neither side has the firepower to run up the score. These games tend to finish 1-1, 2-1, 1-0, 0-0. Most of them go under by halftime. Second, when 2 genuinely top teams meet in group stage, they play cagey because the stakes are real and the talent on the other side is equal to theirs. France versus Denmark in 2022, Spain versus Germany in 2022, Brazil versus Switzerland 2022, they all went under. Top teams meeting in group stage cancel each other out tactically. The matches you avoid are the top team versus the mediocre team. That's the blowout spot. The matches you bet are the mid versus mid grinders and the top versus top tactical battles. But here's exactly how to identify them. 4 filters. Every potential underbet has to clear all 4. If it misses one, then you're going to skip the matchup. Let's go ahead and start with filter number 1. The structure, there's going to be 2 structures here, okay? There's going to be, structure A is going to be 2 mid-tier teams, meaning both teams need to be ranked 15th to 40th in FIFA. Now, neither can be in the top 10. Now, let's get to structure B. That's going to be 2 teams in the top 15 in FIFA. Now, if a match is top 10 versus a team that's ranked outside the top 40, that's where you skip it because that is your blowout risk. Those are the Spain versus Costa Rica spots that turn into a 7-0 because the gap is too wide. The system explicitly excludes them. The reason this works, when 2 mid-tier teams meet, both sides have the discipline to play organized football, but neither has the elite firepower to break the other down repeatedly. Goals are harder to come by. Same outcome when 2 top-tier teams meet, just for a different reason. Both sides are cautious because losing matters, and the talent on the other side is real. Now let's go ahead and go to filter 2. This is going to be the goal pace. Both teams must 1.4 goals or less in the last 5 competitive matches. This is your form filter. It captures whether a team is actually scoring at a pace that supports an underbet. If a team has scored 12 goals in their last 5 qualifiers, they're hot. Their attack is sharp, so then you skip the match. If both teams are 1.5 goals or fewer, they're in form for grinder football. That's what you want. Now let's get to filter number 3. This is going to be your defensive check. Now both teams must concede less than 1.5 goals in their last 5 competitive matches. This is the inverse of filter 2. You're checking that both defenses are tight because a great offense versus a leaky defense will produce overs, even if the offense is cold on paper. When both teams meet filters 2 and 3, you're guaranteed a low-paced, low-quality scoring match. Both attacks are cold. Both defenses are tight. The math takes care of itself from there. Now, filter 4 is going to be the price that we need to get this at. The price needs to be between minus 200 and minus 500. Now, the reason why we have to stick in this filter of minus 200 to minus 500 is the implied probability versus the true probability of it actually happening. That's where we're going to be able to find our edge. If we go longer than minus 500, then our edge is going to diminish to almost sometimes there is none. If we go shorter than minus 200, most likely one of these filters are not going to line up for something that's lower than minus 200. It's just not going to end up happening because the sportsbook never gives you that much of an edge to where you're able to attack something that they mispriced that heavily. Now let's go ahead and get through a real life example so I can show you exactly what that looks like on paper. Now let's take a look at the matchup here between South Korea and the Czech Republic. Let's look at filter 1 here, okay? So, South Korea, they're ranked 22nd. The Czech is ranked 41st. So, we got both mid-tier teams here. Neither is in the top 10. So, Czech 1, we're good. Let's take a look at the goal pace here. South Korea has averaged just over a goal per match in their last 5 competitive matches under their current manager. Czech has been similar, around 1.2 to 1.4 per match. So, both inside the under 1.5 threshold. Now, let's take a look at the defense here. South Korea is defensively organized for a structure that slows the pace of the game and plays defensive ball. Czech is known for compact defending. Both teams concede less than 1.5 goals per match recently, so Czech 3 goes through. Now let's take a look at the price of exactly what it is. Well, the price for the under 3.5 goals is priced at $4.20 right now, giving us an implied probability here of 81%. But now if we have a true probability here of 88%, that gives us what? Plus 7% edge. Now there is a quick note that I do want to tell you guys because the same exact way we look here at the 3.5, we could possibly do on some matches for the under 4.5. Under 4.5 on filtered group stage matches hits at 95% of the time. But the price on that is typically very high. Why? Because you're playing an extra safe bet there. So you're going to be risking a lot of money just to make a little bit. But the variance protection is enormous. Great for bankroll discipline, bad for the excitement. If your edge depends on slow, steady growth, then you run the under 4.5. If you could stomach occasional losses and want bigger payouts, then you could run the under 3.5. It's the same matches, it's just a different ticket on the matchup. Now going through this step by step for each matchup is probably going to take you at least an hour per matchup on paper if you go to all the different websites to be able to find the information for this. Well, there is a solution. I created the Linemaker AI, where you could just plug in the filters that I just shared with you, and you can get the answers within seconds. So you'll be able to scan through every single matchup in the group stage that qualifies for this, literally in seconds, and be able to put your bets in all within an hour. So if you guys want a free trial for the Linemaker AI so that way you can give it a shot on the World Cup, make sure you guys click the link in the description.
I've spent the last 3 years on this channel telling you that parlays are a tax on people who can't do math. That stays true. Most parlays are designed to lose. Sportsbooks make 35% of their parlay revenue from same game parlays specifically because the math is rigged against you. But there is one structure one specific build with real correlation math behind it that actually hits 85% of the time when you filter it correctly. And the 2026 World Cup is the single best event of the year to be able to run it on. I'm going to show you exactly how it works, why it works, and how to find the right matches in the next 30 days. Let me explain why most same-game parlays are a trap, so you understand what we're avoiding. When you bet a regular parlay, the sportsbook multiplies the odds together. 2 minus 1 10 bets become plus 264. The math is clean. The book has a small hold built in, but you can calculate your edge. Same-game parlays are different. They're priced by a correlation engine. The book looks at how related the legs are to each other and adjusts the payout accordingly. If two legs are negatively correlated, the SGP pays more. If they're positively correlated, the SGP pays less. Here's the trap. Most retail bettors build SGPs around things that feel related but actually have weak correlation, like the star player to score plus the team to win. Both teams to score plus over 2.5 goals, first goal scorer plus the exact result. These structures look like they should be connected. The book's algorithm knows the real correlation is weaker than people think, and they price the SGP at a level where the book holds 20 to 35% on average. That's not a sportsbook trying to be evil. That's a sportsbook pricing math better than the bettor. Most SGPs lose long term because the bettor is paying a hidden tax for guessing at a correlation they don't actually understand. So how do you win? You find the structures where the book is underpricing positive correlation, where two legs are so tightly linked that if one hits, the other almost certainly hits too, and you stick those two together in that structure. This is the part most channels won't teach you because they sell parlays for a living. Almost every profitable same game parlay has the same DNA. It's two legs only, never three, not 7, not 10. Both legs need to be highly correlated in the same direction. When one wins, the other should win almost automatically. Both legs need to have high standalone probability. We're not chasing payouts, we're stacking probability. And the bet only works on matches with a specific structure. Heavy favorite, clear talent gap, group stage or early tournament, not knockout, not late tournament fatigue spots. The World Cup group stage is the cleanest possible environment for this. You have the biggest talent gaps of any major tournament because 48 teams are now in the field, half of whom have no business being there. You have favorites motivated to score early to secure goal differential for tiebreakers, and you have books pricing these matches like club football matches, even though World Cup group stage favorites historically overperform their lines. Let me show you the exact build behind them. This is the 4 filter system. If a match passes all 4 filters, you build the SGP. If it misses one, then you skip it. No exceptions. Let's start with the first one. Step 1 is going to be the ranking gap. The favorite must be top 15 in the FIFA World Rankings. Okay, so top 15. Their opponent must be ranked 40 or lower or be a tournament debutant. So it needs to be 40 or lower. This right here is the talent gap filter. Top 15 teams have squad depth, tactical structure, and starting 11s with mostly Champions League level players. Sub 40 teams are usually built around 1 or 2 stars with a thin supporting cast. In a 90-minute match with 1 ball and 22 players, the talent gap shows up. It almost always shows up early. If the gap isn't there, the system doesn't work. France versus Belgium has too narrow a gap. France versus a debutante has that gap. Now let's go ahead and get to step 2, which is going to be stage. This must be in the group stage to qualify. Now there is an exception with this though. The third group stage is a bit dangerous because the favorite has often clinched advance and may rotate the squad. That's where the upsets happen. Saudi Arabia beating Argentina in 2022 was a first match upset, but the pattern of weird results clusters in third matches when teams are managing minutes, resting stars, or already through. First and second group matches are when top teams play their A team and try to seal qualification early. That's where our window lies. Now, step 3 is going to be the price of what we need to get this at. Our money line favorite needs to be between minus 300 and minus 700. If the price is shorter than minus 300, the gap is too small and we're paying too much for too little of a probability. If the price is longer than minus 700, the book is signaling that something is wrong, often an injury or a tactical concern that we don't see in the ranking. Stay in the band. This band is the sweet spot historically. World Cup favorites priced from minus 300 to minus 700 in group stage win at roughly 90% over the last 4 tournaments. That's the foundation we build on. Now let's go ahead and get to step 4. Step 4 is going to be the build. Let's build it. Now what it's going to be is it's going to be 2 legs. Okay, one leg is going to be the money line. Second leg is going to be the team total for this right here that correlates with our money line over 1.5 goals. That's it. No third leg, no player props, no corner markets, just these two. Here's why these two legs work together. When a heavy favorite wins a World Cup group stage match against an outclassed opponent, they almost always score 2 or more goals. The historical rate is around 88%. Heavy favorites that score only 1 goal in group stage matches usually draw or get the result late, not win comfortably. The two legs are tightly correlated in the same direction. The book's SGP engine prices this correlation, but historically prices it conservatively, because the correlation model is trained on Premier League and Champions League data that don't fully capture how lopsided World Cup group stage matches are. The book typically prices this SGP at plus 150 up to minus 220. The true joint probability based on historical results is closer to 85%. Which would price this at minus 565. That gap between what the book charges and what the math says is your edge. Compounded across the 25 group stage matches that meet all 4 filters, and then you have a meaningful edge over a 30-day window. Now let me go ahead and walk you through a real life example. We're going to look at Portugal versus D Congo. Group stage match, Group K, first match for both teams, NRG Stadium in Houston. Let's go ahead and run the filters on this matchup. First one is the ranking gap. Portugal is top 10. Congo is somewhere in the 60s. No comparable squad depth. Gap is there, so it passes step 1. Now let's go ahead and get to step 2. This is the first matchup, so it is in the group stage, and again, it is in the first group stage. So that ends up passing. Now let's get to step 3 and let's see what the prices are here for this. Portugal's money line is sitting at about minus 350 right now. Right in the middle of the minus 300 to minus 700 band that we're looking for. Now let's go get to step 4 and let's build that out. All right, we're going to take Portugal money line and Portugal over 1.5 goals. Portugal is at minus 350, which is roughly 78% implied probability. Portugal to score 2 or more goals is priced at about minus 250, which is roughly 72% implied probability. Now, if you naively multiply these two probabilities, you get about 57%. But the two legs are tightly correlated. When Portugal wins this match, history says they score 2 or more goals close to 90% of the time. Heavy favorites that scrape a 1-0 win in World Cup group stage are the exception, not the rule. So when you get a 90% probability for Portugal to win and a 90% probability for Portugal to get 2 goals, that gives us a true probability of 81%. Now when you put these two together, we're getting minus 260, which is going to give us an implied probability of 72%, but we have a real probability of 81%, thus giving us a plus 9% edge on that play. Now that's positive expected value. You bet it, you move on. You then look for the next match that passes all 4 filters. But here's the thing. This might take you all day to research just one of these. It might take you a couple hours, okay? But to research every single one, it will take you a long time. To fast forward through all of this and just get the answers sent within seconds, all you got to do is use the Linemaker AI. Inside the Linemaker AI, you just plug in these 4 steps right here, and next thing you know, you have your answer within seconds. If you guys want to try this out and see exactly how to use this in the World Cup, make sure you guys click the link in the description. Now, across the group stage, you're going to find roughly 20 to 25 of these probably. That's 20 to 25 separate SGPs, each one with positive expected value. Each one that's going to be independent of the other. This is not build a 12-leg parlay and hope. This is methodical, repeated execution of a single structure that the math says should hit at 80 to 88% over a meaningful sample. So like I said, if you want to find every match that meets these 4 filters during the 2026 World Cup, you could do this manually, but it will take you probably a couple hours, if not all day, to find every single matchup that follows this criteria. If you want those answers within seconds by just plugging in the filters, make sure you guys click the link in the description and use the Linemaker AI, because you'll literally have this in about seconds and you'll be able to move on and it'll save you a ton of time. As always, I'm Frank with Linemaker Sports. I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, I'm out.